more serious, something that matters desperately in this election, is what are you voting for? What are you voting against? Why are you voting for the government? Why are you voting against the government? Why are you voting for the opposition? Why are you voting against them? Why are you voting minor party, and what are you doing when it comes to your preference, right? Because I always think that you should have not just an idea about what you want to reject, but what you want to endorse as well. That's the reality of a vote. But for an awful lot of people, for some reason, they have been pulled in by the lies the Prime Minister has been saying around healthcare. Remember, up until the very start of this year and at the start of this year, cost of living was the number one issue in the country. It was an issue that he was losing on because he'd been around for the past couple of years. Remember, he spent $450 million on a yes-no question. He's the one who took $1,500 off 10 million workers. But they know that, yep, Labor Party, let's talk about Medicare, change the subject, media will go along with us. Sure, they'll count the number of times Peter Dutton goes to a petrol station, but they don't seem to keep any sort of a running tally on the number of times he stands in front of the strengthening Medicare sign, which, of course, the idea, by the way, the idea that the logo of Medicare is now associated with Labor Party campaign tactics. Remember, that is an independent organisation, but they're pretending it's part of the Labor Party, right? No one calls that rule out. But that's not the point I'm about to make here. The point the Prime Minister has made many times, so much so that he is probably sick of saying it, which means people are now only just starting to pay attention to it, is that you will only need your Medicare card to go to the doctor. A simple prop to suggest that every time you have a look in your wallet, you'll be reminded that it's the Labor Party who will make sure that you never have to worry about paying extra when it comes to going to the doctor.
All they need is this little green card. All they need is their Medicare card.
The reality is, it's not true. This government, in its 3 years, has seen the total number of people who are able to bulk bill the entirety of their bill to the doctor go down. Down, right? Evil, nasty Liberal Party. They're doing worse. They promise to try to lift it back to kind of where it was before they took over. But guess what? Even that could end up being a lie. You see, Mark Butler was at the National Press Club a couple of days ago, and it's normally a home game, a home ground game for a left-leaning politician like himself. But now, with a week to go in the election, when more than 1 million people have voted, when potentially maybe 3 million people have voted because they've filled out their ballot papers already, the truth has been exposed. That under this plan, there will still be plenty of people who will need more than their Medicare card to go and see a doctor. Roll the tape, because you need to remember this when you talk to your family this weekend.
There will be Australians who will continue to be charged a gap fee.
Hang on, sorry, that's slightly different. What did the Prime Minister say was the promise?
All they need is this little green card. All they need is their Medicare card.
Sorry, I thought that there's an asterisk here. There's a maybe. And by the way, that number of even potentially 90% of people being able to bulk bill may not happen. Why? Because doctors are openly saying that that won't be the system regardless of what the government tells them to do. Because it's not the government that decides, it's the GP that decides how much they bulk bill versus how much extra you have to pay on top of the bulk billing. Anne Rushton, middle stump, shadow health minister.
The reality is the Prime Minister has been out there misleading Australians. Everyday Australians know that it has never been harder or more expensive to see a doctor, and no amount of waving around his Medicare card changes the experience that they're feeling on the ground right now.
That's the truth. This was a change of the subject to get themselves out of the poop that they were in because of the way that they handled the past 3 years economically. It largely worked because most of the media was never going to call BS. He was allowed to cover himself in the logo of an organisation that, yes, the government funds, but the Labor Party doesn't have a right to pretend is its branding. If that's the case, then literally the Liberal Party, if they wanted to, would be able to wear camouflage each and every day and stand in front of a tank with a Liberal Party logo on it. It's a lie. And it's a lie to change the subject. And even then, the doctors are saying that they won't deliver it. And it brings me to the last thing I want to say to you tonight. You have to have the conversations with your family. Not to browbeat them, not to make them feel bad, not to make them feel stupid, but you need to remind them, hey, whoa. Let's get back where you were a couple of months ago. Before they changed the subject, before they BS'd, before they started to spin like mad tops.